location here, as you can see, is just off Mountain View Corridor and 3500 South in West Valley City. Approximately 3:50 p.m. yesterday, we had an 8-year-old female student at the end of the school day, left the school building and proceeded on that north pathway, the alleyway that connects both the east and west side of the campus, where her mother was parked in the Hunter Regional Park parking lot and drop-off zone. I'll point that out to you in a second, but you can see it there on the map on the east side, the northeast side of the campus. She sat there with her mother for a moment, and they were waiting for an older sister. And the mother asked the daughter to go back to the front of the building to make sure the older daughter knew that she was in the back waiting. As she proceeded along that north pathway, as she came up towards the west side of and the front entry of the campus, as we've described him in the press release, I'm not going to go into details there unless you need me to. A gentleman approached her and grabbed her at that point in time and took her into a cove that's the exit spot for the cafeteria on the northwest side of that building. And I'll point to that in a second as well. She kicked and screamed, and we had an adult supervisor watching that north area, and he heard some screams, and so he started making his way back to investigate the situation further. And as she was able to free herself, she fled east back to her mother's vehicle. The suspect initially went after her, but then is seen on the camera fleeing to the west and then to the north. He goes by our employee, who's unsure what he's just come upon, and the employee clearly sees that he has a fleeing student and an adult male of some sort, and he tries to stop the suspect from fleeing, is unable to do so. The suspect flees on foot to the north along 6000 West and then heads east along 3500 South. Our police department came upon the investigation, and we immediately, last evening, sent out some information to our administrators. The suspect was initially thought to be a juvenile male. However, I think it's safe to say that we believe that he's an adult, a young adult male at this point in time, and the other descriptive factors are in the press release that we provided to you, including height and race and ethnicity, that we believe the suspect, that identifies the suspect. And the reason we believe that he is no longer a juvenile male is we've had instances in the past where juveniles have been involved in crimes on school property, and we sent this out to our administrators and our employee teams first to see if they could identify this individual, and they were unable to do so. And so we also sent it out to the Whittier Elementary community to see if anybody could recognize or identify this suspect. And at this point in time, because we have not garnered any successful leads, we've had several leads, but we want to make sure we find this individual. So Granite Police Department is officially asking the public's help in identifying this suspect. We're quite concerned, considering the brazen nature of this attack, that this individual might seek to come to other locations. So we are beefing up our police presence with the help of West Valley and other police agencies, and we expect that every available adult within our buildings is on our campuses this afternoon to make sure that our kids are able to leave the campus in a safe fashion. So again, we are asking for the public's help in identifying this individual. We do not have quality images of the face, but we have other descriptive items. The individual may be homeless. We're not sure. We have some other information that may lead us to believe that he may be homeless. So, but it does appear to be a young adult male, and it does not appear to be a student, as we initially thought. So with that, we're here to answer any other questions.
How is the young girl?
It's an 8-year-old female.
How is she?
She's doing well. Considering the nature of the attack, she's doing quite well. So she will, as part of the course of the investigation, she'll be interviewed today in accordance with those procedures. The family is a good, strong community member, a strong Whittier family, and the mother is actually an employee of ours as well. And so in this particular case, this victim did everything right. Like, you can, sorry. I saw the video this morning, and she fought for her life, and she did everything absolutely right. She fled at that moment to her mother's vehicle, and the suspect obviously went a different way, but considering what could have possibly happened, this is every parent's worst nightmare, right? And there's obviously worse things that could have occurred, and so we thank the heavens that nothing further happened in this particular instance. And such a brazen attack on our own property, and within distance of, she's 60 yards away from her mother, just across the field. I mean, it's on an open street area. There was an adult another 30 yards and heard her screams and attempted to come over and locate where that was coming from. We're grateful that our protocols were followed in that instance, and it likely helped prevent further issues from occurring.
Yeah, Ben, what are your protocols for this kind of stuff, and how often does a brazen incident like this happen in the district?
This is shaking me because I've been here for 14 years and I've never seen something like this, where somebody actually comes onto our property and attacks one of our students in such a fashion. Obviously the intent is unknown of what this individual is trying to do. He grabbed her and pulled her into a corner of the building where the camera did not have view. There was an interior camera that did have a partial view of what was occurring. There's some light glare, so it's not very clear, but it is very clear that the individual intended to do harm. And so the girl fought this attacker, and it's very clear that she did everything right in this situation. After school hours, we obviously do not have control or the ability to protect every student. As soon as they leave our property, they're really outside of our authority and our ability to provide supervision. And so as school ends, we generally have a number of adults on the exterior of the building to help get the kids off the campus and get them where they need to be, whether that's to a ride or to a bus or on their way walking home. And for this individual to come onto the campus, he walked past the crossing guard. He had been in the area, it appears, for a little bit of time. Obviously, we don't know what his intent were, and that's part of our investigation.
You mentioned that this little girl did everything right, but what would be your advice to parents out there seeing this very scary incident happen? What would you tell them to maybe tell their kids about how to respond if they ever come across a situation like this?
I'll tell you what I told my 9-year-old daughter last night, that if you're ever uncomfortable, if somebody makes you to feel uncomfortable, no matter who they are, you scream and you fight for your life. And you don't stop until you're with somebody that you trust. And we should always be having those regular conversations. There are trusted adults around you. In this particular case, if she had been unsuccessful in getting away from him, an adult was literally on their way to address the screaming that was occurring. And so by virtue of the fact that she was screaming for her life, helped preserve her life in that particular case. And so do everything you can and don't stop until a trusted adult is there to help you. Did I miss anything on that?
When it comes to police presence, are you guys going to have added police at just this school or all schools in the district for today?
I think it's safe to say we'll have a pretty heavy police presence in the area. I think Whittier's a very safe school today. I think it's highly unlikely that the suspect would come back to this campus, but in case he does, we will have a strong police presence in the entire area. Obviously, we have concerns about, again, the brazenness of this attack, that the suspect may attempt to come onto another campus. So again, we've asked all of our available adults in our elementary schools and our other locations to please be available and present on the campus after school today, just as out of abundance of caution.
Would you be able to show us, like, on the map?
Yeah, let me walk you through it. So the older grades typically come out this portion of the building and then either go this way or that way, depending on where their ride might be or where they're walking to the campus. This is a community school. I don't believe there's many bus routes, if any at all. So most of the younger students come out. This is the front entry of the building, and this is like the cafeteria area. So this is walled off, and garbage dumpsters, things of that nature. So kids don't generally go in this area. There's an opening in the fence right here, so people can access to both sides of that area after school hours. And so this little girl walked past the crosswalk where a lot of students come. Most parents are either here doing their drop off and pick up, or back here out of the regional parking area. The little girl came out, walked all the way out to where her mother was located. Again, the mother asked her to go find her sister. She came back along this path. This is a wide path. It's probably half the size of this room, and is widely used, but it clears out pretty quick. Kids like to leave as soon as the school day's done. They don't linger very often. So she comes back all the way almost to here, and right here is where the cafeteria exits. And this is like an alcove, so there is a roof over a bike rack area, so the bikes are protected from weather, and the doors come out into that area. So there's all glass right there into the cafeteria space. The interior, but it is an alcove, so meaning for a 30-40 foot span, there's a wall on either side where the building kind of comes in and indents under this alcove. And so the suspect was walking along in here, and you can see him come up and approach the female student, and she is trying to kind of get around him, and she could tell something wasn't right, and he's talking to her for a brief moment, and then he reaches out to give her a hug and grabs her, and then walks into this corner area of this space. There's a camera literally right above where this attack took place that sees both ways, but obviously not underneath and behind it. But there's a camera in the interior of the cafeteria that was actually able to pick that up. There's some brightness from the exterior sun that's coming through, so you can only see some shadows, but it's very clear what's happening in that moment. She continues to fight with him, and then is able to get away from him. Meanwhile, our social worker, adult employee who was supervising this pathway, is here, but most of what's happening in the supervision is happening out here on this roadway. We're obviously watching for kids, making sure they use the crosswalk, that they don't cut across the road, other things of that nature. Here's some screaming, turns around and starts walking up this way to see what's going on, and right here there's a gate. The suspect comes out as the little girl flees. The suspect initially follows her and then turns around, and you can see our employee trying to stop him from fleeing the area. He got on this main road, ran all the way up 3500 South.